Oh wow, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Okay, so welcome to episode 5 of the Salt Mine. This is Sinergy. This is a Malifaux stream in which I go through a recent game, and we go through it, and you all can make fun of how bad I play or tell me what I'm doing wrong. Um, and so let's go ahead and get started. Oh. So Jim is actually in the chat. Jim, you a couple times managed to time very good responses to things I said, which made me think that you all could hear me. And I don't know how you managed it, but that's really funny. So Jim was my opponent for our game tonight. The deployment was flank. The strat was public enemies. The schemes are breakthrough. Spread them out. Take prisoner. Claim jump and runic binding. The crews for tonight, I was using Neverborn Lucius. The only thing that made Neverborn Lucius were that I had Wrath and that I had, the two changelings had Ancient Pact. Otherwise, this could be one I run anywhere else. So my opponent was running 10 Thunders. He was running Yokou. This was his first time running Yokou, I believe. He had Chio, a Kabuki, or two Kabuki, two Bunraku, two Kunoichi, and a Geisha. I predicted in my last run through of this that I would forget the name of the Kunoichi mid-game or mid-stream. I have not done so yet, but I'm sure I will now. So this is our battlefield. There's some models down, kind of give you an idea of what his deployment's going to look like, but he made some changes, and we'll go through that in a minute. But I was going to be deploying up here in the red. He was down in the green. I expected, honestly, with claim jump, the fight to be here, but people to use the rock for cover. That was a big piece of terrain in the middle of the board. Kunoichi. Yeah, I'm definitely going to butcher that repeatedly. I'm not going to get Kunoichi right. I think I'm getting it from my memory of Naruto. So however they said it is how I'm probably trying to say it and probably failing. So looking at the schemes, my crew is all about breaking up and running a lore. So I didn't want to do spread them out or breakthrough. I took runic binding. Rob, you should be proud of me for that. It was kind of an insurance for claim jump because I figured if he was really stacking the middle and I was having to chew through a lot of models, that would be something I could score instead. Kunoichi. Okay, Kunoichi. Yeah, definitely going to butcher that. So I took runic binding as insurance for claim jump. Probably not the greatest choice, but it's one that I liked as a option. What I would expect from him, I looked at that crew and thought spread them out. I thought take prisoner given all the lures. I kind of figured that he'd be able to run past me. I didn't realize how mobile the Bunraku were. I thought they were going to be more fighters in this, but it turns out they're pretty mobile as well. So here's deployment, and I unfortunately cut off a big chunk of his deployment, so I'm going to have to just kind of tell you what was going on there. We've got my bricks up top here. And we've got Alan Reed, Wrath, Lawyer, Changeling, Scribe, Lucius, Field Reporter, and Doppelganger. Down here, he's got Chio, the Totem. He's got Kunoichi. And a Bunraku. There's another Kunoichi and Bunraku at the bottom of the Tetris piece. And then he's got his Master. And right at the edge there is a Geisha, and then, the Geisha's right there, is the other Kabuki warrior, I believe. Yep, Jim, that's absolutely right. Kind of mirroring that edge. So that's where everyone started. Looking at the end of turn one. So what ended up happening, I kind of used Lucius's pushes to move everyone up into the gap there. I was able to do a little bit of lures to bring the Kunoichi and Chio into the middle of my crew. Chio was down to 2 wounds. Kunoichi went down, which was a really nice start. Cody, I think you'd be all right. You'd be all right with it. It's a lot of control, but it's a lot of combos, and I know how you like to eat through combos. So what ended up happening was we had Chio got lured basically with Bring It. The lures and Bring It like all the way around. So she got lured to here and then got pulled up and around. Which set her up to die for the next turn. He started moving his models. He wasn't able to get his lore here, which was a big loss because it would have let him start setting up those schemes a little easier. I don't remember. I think we talked about it, but Chio's lore was definitely something that would have been a problem for me because if you start pulling the pieces out from the brick, it has a lot more trouble. But yeah, I don't think. I think that was kind of. I don't remember what Chio ended up doing in response, but I think that was a problem for her. All right, so then at turn one, I'm definitely thinking spread them out at this point. I have to deal with that in some way. Oh. Oh, okay. She tried to use her distract. That makes sense too. And I know that you wanted to get her on my side of the board for the pass tokens, which is a big deal. I still think take prisoner at that point, but I'm not really sure. He could have breakthrough. I don't really think it's claim jump at that point. He's not really pushing the middle, so there's not really a lot of threat there of that. So I don't know. I don't know what I need to look out for. He tried a couple lures with the Kabuki on I think Wrath, but it could have been Alan Reed, and just weren't able to pull him off because for most of the game I had really nice hands. So I was able to keep that from being a problem. So turn two. So what ended up happening, the big thing was the initiative flip, in my opinion. Yeah, you were trying to get Wrath pulled out. I think that the start of 2 was kind of a continuation of that in some way. So you cheated a king to go off and talked about charging in and then decided against it. Was that something... When you decided, did you decide not to after the bonus action went off, or didn't go off, or was there something else that changed your mind on that? Because I don't remember the why. I don't know if you told me the why. You cheated that in, and then after the rapid action, you decided against it. I think he decided that he would have. What he's saying in the chat is that he would have spent too many resources on Wrath's Terrifying, and especially if he had to. I don't know if he was able to charge in without getting into the False Witness's aura, which would have made that extra hard to do. My hand was really good, so it was going to be hard for him to get through. So basically, what ended up happening was he took Yukou's activation. I don't think a lot came out of it. I think I did something small there. I tried to kill Chio with the False Witness and failed miserably. And then he was able to. He charged with one of the Kabuki. The Kabuki got killed with, I think mainly with the coordinated strikes from Alan, and then the other Kabuki went in and the same thing happened. Part of that was Wrath, because Wrath has, Wrath's going to get those Sin tokens on him. And between pulsing for 3 damage and then pulsing for that Vengeful Ghost 2, 3, 4, there's just a lot of damage coming that way. Yeah, Jim is right. So part of what was happening was that the Kabuki were getting into the False Witnesses aura, and then so I'd hit with the willpower attack, and then I'd get the coordinated strike trigger, and then when I attack with Wrath, I just never missed. He'd hit with the trigger to do extra damage. If he wanted to cheat, then he was going to lose a card for the Scribe's aura. Though no, I took the Scribe around the other way, so they may have been safe from that. But yeah, the combat finesse is one of those things that when it's working well, it feels like it's really good, and when it doesn't work, when the opponent just flips high, it just feels so bad. And I think that was a big part of what was going on there. But both of them went down. Without, I think that one of them hit Wrath, the other one didn't, if I recall correctly, and then Wrath was able to heal up when he'd punch things. I was able to get a lot of obeys off with my changelings, and just about everything that could go wrong, unfortunately, was. I think Wrath ended up moving up at the end of the turn to make some attacks on Yokou, and we got Yokou into the Scribe's aura as well. So, oh yeah, I got that 1 damage. Yeah, so is something that happened. So Yokou got that 1 token because she did her 0 action on Alan Reed, and it does, like, I think there's a trigger to do 1 damage, or a trigger that does like damage equal to the number of cards you have, and it was 1, and which was a real bad thing, because it ended up giving her a token that I could then take advantage of to swing at plus flips, or to just do damage without having to take a swing, and both of those get around Serene Countenance, so it was just bad news for her. Yeah, but the attacks when else in range. I think when we talked about that, most of Yukou's attacks are enemy only. So yes, I could kind of shuffle it off to someone, but I didn't have a great option for. I couldn't put it back onto your guys, which is really I think when you read Wrath's ability, what you think it's going to do, but what it doesn't actually end up doing. That makes sense. You certainly don't want them distracted. They had work to do. But so I was able to score the public enemies at that point. I wasn't able to get either of my schemes. Didn't move Alan Reed forward for claim jump, and he was still on the middle, so I wasn't too worried about that. I figured I'd go after her next turn. Claim jump wasn't going to happen at that point. He wasn't going to have 3 models that I could put together into a triangle, which was going to be fine. So looking at schemes at that point, what did I think he had? Again, he set up for spread them out. No markers had gone down yet. So I decided at that point he's probably going for breakthrough. I see the models going for the deployment zone. So I start playing for that. I stopped worrying about take prisoner at that point. And so thinking breakthrough and spread. We'll see if it's actually going to happen or not, but that's where it was. So turn 3. So looking at turn 3, we've got, you can kind of see it didn't go well for Yokou there. Wrath's up to full, his healed up to full. Both the Geisha and Yokou herself died in the middle of the board there. I think Wrath did most of the work there, but I think I did some work with one more question from the doppelganger, copying it from Alan Reed. Alan walked around to get his scheme for claim jump. If you look up top here, the lawyer was able to walk up. He had dropped a scheme marker here. I was able to take a do an obey to get rid of the marker, and then I got a lucky severe, I think, on a shot from Lucius using hidden sniper to take out the Bunraku there. So Alan Reed. I've liked Alan Reed more in this crew than I've liked him anywhere else. He was absolutely great. I actually played another game with this list later, and he had another, just probably having bigger games than he does anywhere else. So Tucker asked Jim if he felt like splitting so heavily while I was bricked up in the middle was a bad thing for him. He said, yeah, that he thinks that Kabuki could have been tougher models like Hinamatsu or Bill, even if they do give up more bounty points. And I think I do agree on that. I don't know about you all. My experience has been in public enemies. I generally want to be bunched up unless the opponent just has a crew that really can punish me for it. I think the real nightmare for me, out of 10 Thunders, I think this crew would have really struggled against any of their big guns. So the Samurai, the Fuhatsu, things of that nature. So we did call it at that point. Jim had the take prisoner on the false witness, and I think the other one was spread them out, if I remember right. Yeah, so it was spread them out. We called it at that point. I was able to get my second public enemies point. I think we ended up deciding that I probably could get one more on that and get the claim jump. I guess the schemes before we decided to call it, but again, spread seemed likely, so Scheme Runner was dead. I assumed that it could be that breakthrough. It turned out I was wrong. So that would have been a 5-0 win. I don't think I would have been able to get the full 4 points on public enemies. Getting those two models dead on opposite sides of the board would have been a tough thing to do. I probably would have pushed at least 5 or 6 actions into Lucius's hidden sniper, which would certainly have a chance to do it, but it isn't certain. Jim was a great sport and a great opponent on it. I do appreciate it. I appreciate being in the chat because it was. I could see it was a frustrating game, and my hands were just absolute fire. So how did I do? I think it's a fun Mimi list. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I would not want to see with this list, and if he had been flipping better, Wrath goes down, and that's a different game completely. When Alan Reed, the coordinate strike trigger, I think as Jim was saying that he was a beast this game. His coordinate strike trigger was the biggest thing that could turn this game. When he's landing that, things just go down, and they're slowed as well. So even if I wasn't killing them, they were going to have trouble getting a lot done. They weren't going to get rapid actions because they were in Reed's aura. It was going to be tough. I was happy with the way I played my brick. I tend to get a little impatient and run things out of it, and I was able to be patient, draw stuff in, and kill it that way more. Wish I had done better on the unpack. Yeah, you're right about that. So Rob said that unpacking on the flank never doesn't feel awkward, and I do agree on that. The big rock in the middle that I was using to kind of cover him from being able to circle around my front didn't make it easier, but it did it gave me a lot of protection, even though it made everything feel very uncomfortable as I unpacked. I think if I played this list a lot, I could get good at that, but I don't play any lists a lot, so that's probably not going to happen. Predictions. So the schemes, spread them out, felt like a natural for that crew. I think I was right on that. I guess take prisoner early, then backed off of it. If he had gone into, if it had been on a different model, I think I would have had trouble. I just happened to get lucky that it was on the false witness. So Tucker said that I should consider flank when list building. I didn't think of flank being awkward to unpack. It just, but now that I do, maybe I'll think about that more in the future. Lucius is hard for scheme marker schemes. I really like the way he protects against breakthrough. Oh no, false witness doesn't have distraction. That's Alan. False witness has the one that gives you the negative willpower duels. But yeah, I can see why you would think that he was going to be fine to keep alive, and then when he went down, it was a big deal. That does make sense. A lot of people that I play against do take prisoner on the steward for that very reason when I run the steward, because he's something that you can take prisoner on. If you don't take him out, what's he going to do? Slow you? He's not a big deal if you don't take him out, and it's not like he's fast to get away. False witness has a lot of those same issues. So if he had been able to be lured out, especially with the activation control Yokou can flex, I think that could have been a big deal. This one was a little shorter. I know I kept you all sitting in the chat for a while, and I apologize for that. So I wanted to give a closer look to Wrath. So I really liked Wrath as a henchman. This game, he has that puncture trigger, which if you want to stone for the ram, all of a sudden you're getting through even hard to wound, things like that. He's a 2/4/5. He's got that sin token generation that you're almost always going to hit, which I really like. He's terrifying, which I consider to be one of the better defenses in the game, and it's really nice in Lucius where you're attacking the hand anyways. He has Bring It, which really fits into this crew. They've already got the lures, but it's something that really goes well, and it works with his own ability, which I really like. His weaknesses: no damage reduction. I was going to rely on stones. When he started going in with those kabuki, I got really worried because I was not going to be able to deal with if he started landing a lot of hits on Wrath. Wrath would go down, and especially if they hit one or two moderates, it's not going to take much. The heal on his punch is about the only thing you have to keep him up. His sin token ability, so he generates them really easily, but picking a new target for attacks is probably, it's not always as good, because with 1-inch reach attacks especially, you just don't have targets a lot of time. That's a big deal. He's a min 2 meter, which we've seen have problems in the past. I was cranking my damage flips here, so no complaints there. I really liked that Vengeful Ghost rapid action. With False Witness putting someone on negatives, it reminds me of hitting people with an almost irresistible damage. And it wasn't a lot, but I really liked the way it rolled. So Jim's saying that he thinks that Wrath deserves more play in center scrum style games. I think Wrath's big problem is the slot he competes at. When I think about Neverborn, and I don't play a ton of Neverborn, I feel like most of the Neverborn crews have their own 7 Soulstone beater, whether it's the Stitched for Dreamer, whether it's the Autumn Nights for Titania, or the Baby Cade. it's a real tough spot to fit Miles in. Tucker said he thinks that the built-in heal should be considered as part of Wrath's defensive package. I do agree. So Rob said that the Crusher 7 Miles are tough to find a home for. Like, what's Greed supposed to do? Look, Greed is just its own world of not good. I haven't really looked at Envy enough to know. I really like Sloth. I really like Envy. I really like Gluttony. I think they all have really good spots to play in. Wrath fits this crew well. I think Wrath is probably better, in my opinion, in Lucius than I've seen him in a lot of other keywords. But I could be wrong. But I do think he's got some real play that I'm glad to see him working out, because I haven't been using my Crossroads 7 models much myself. Yeah, Z would run Wrath well as well, but Z polishes just about everything, so. Yeah, I was actually, most of the game I was putting shielded on Wrath with the lawyer, and that was really helping him in terms of staying alive. I actually played last night. I only got 3 turns in of a game with Molly, with a pretty beefy beater crew against me, and I used basically the same crew. And what I found was it was a similar game. I wasn't able to stay bricked up quite as well because I was trying to avoid the left's caress, so I needed to move to get behind his models to really attack him. But Alan Reed, again, superstar, hit that coordinated strike. Doppelganger copying big punches and dealing them back in spades. It's a crew that has a lot that works well with each other, and I really like that. All right, so I don't have a Salt of the Week this week. Didn't have any recordings, didn't have a game myself that made me salty, and honestly, I could probably find something to rant about, but I think everyone's a little wrung out from the election, so I'm going to let everyone kind of chill on that. And so we're not going to hit anyone with salt this week. Anaran says he doesn't get the hate on Greed. Soulstone use prevention can be brutal. I've thought about that, but with Greed, the problem I run into is that you're not generating sin tokens with that either. So you have to be hitting to generate with her attack to actually generate the sin tokens to then use those to stop prevention. And by the time you do, she's just dead. She doesn't do enough other stuff on the board. I've never managed to make her go. I probably will try her again at some point, and when I include her in the stream, y'all can tell me how I swore I'd never do it. But I'll say it today. I'll try Greed in a crew at some point. But it's not going to be sometime soon. Special thanks to my opponent, Jim. He was a lovely game. You could hear him on the Other Coast podcast and on his YouTube channel. The proprietors of my gaming club, the Historic Haven, and my incredibly patient wife who puts up with all this and has probably done her lessons just having to hear me scream into a microphone now since I did that first run through without anyone being able to see. If you want to talk more foe with me and other cool folks, check out the Swamp Fiends Discord or the Guild Facebook chat. You want quality foe media? Check out Third Floor Wars, The Other Coast, Swamp Fiends, The Steam Powered Scoundrels, The Rage Quit Wire, Schemes and Stones, Capital City Crew, Harlefaux, or Gaming with a Salty Slacker. I've been enjoying all those, and I love the fact that we have this much out right now. I wanted to put a shout out here to all our YouTube producers as well. I can't believe how many YouTube creators we have out right now creating Battle Report podcasts and things like that. You can see Jim's YouTube feed here. He's got new stuff incoming. Check it out. It's going to be great. But he's put his first game, a record game against Andre out of the Texas meta, and there'll be lots of good games to watch there. We've got Household Gamer, Dan Brown, TNG Productions, Skirmish Miniature Gaming, Geeky Villain, Intensely Relaxed Gaming, Gorilla Miniature Gaming, and I don't speak Cyrillic, so I have no idea how that screen name is said. But that's the one that has Plag and Legislats games on it, and it can be a good one to learn from. There are games that are in English, there are some that are completely in Russian, but they are certainly top flight players, and you can learn a lot from watching them. Spread the word. If there's someone you think would enjoy getting on the conversation here, tell them about the stream. I'm not advertising outside of what I'm allowed to post in the chats and stuff like that, so your word of mouth is the best way to improve the stream, get us going, and have a good time. Oh, we got a shout out for one more media, Malifaux fans. I don't think that's a real thing, but I'm going to subscribe to it because that sounds hilarious. But spread the word about this one. We're at 7:30 from now on going forward, and I can't wait to talk with more of you about the game. It's the highlight of my weekend to talk with you all about Foe. My Malifaux fans is going to be hot. So I will see you all next week. I'll be in the chat for a little while, but I'm going to stop the main stream. You all have a great night. Thanks for coming out.